Welcome back, America. One of the essential components in the fight against ESG is the muscle of everyday Americans, you and I. Joining us now to explain how that power of the grassroots is being harnessed for an epic battle in state houses across America and inside our Congress is our good friend Jessica Anderson, Executive Director of Heritage Action for America, the sponsor for our great conversation tonight. Jessica, thanks for the partnership on this great program. It's great to have you back on.
Great to be here, John. Thanks for having me.
This is going to be, I think, one of the biggest political battles we're going to see in the next 4 or 5 years. You've already scored. I mean, a lot of Americans are still getting up to speed on ESG, but you've already scored some pretty big victories in Oklahoma. Indiana's on its way that direction. Tell us about the early victories we've had.
Well, John, this is such an incredibly important fight, both at the state level and with the federal government. But the states are really ahead of the curve here, where we have state lawmakers that are working in concert with their state treasurers and state auditors to put forward legislation that would protect the interests of voters, customers in general, when it comes to the really dangerous metrics that the ESG movement has put on. So we've seen Oklahoma straight out the gates with a really aggressive anti-ESG package that's been put forward. Indiana, the fight is actually right now moving through their state legislature. Florida, the governor just introduced his ESG package. Arizona, Nebraska, I could go on, John. But the point here is to protect the interest of every single everyday Americans as it comes to how their money is being invested. And you can do that in a number of ways, but the way that's really most critical right now is these state pensions and state contracts to make sure that they don't go against the will of the people that they're supposed to be making money for.
Yeah, that's such an important thing. And we're talking about people's retirements and pensions, the
That's
future
right.
of their fiscal health. That's why this is such an important issue. You've done something very special because if someone's going to get involved and make a difference, we've now made the case over several of these specials that everyday Americans make a difference when they get involved. And we've seen it in all the different victories that have been won in the last year, whether it's critical race theory
Mhm.
or basic fiscal issues. You've created a website that I think is the ultimate one-stop shopping to get up to speed quickly and get in the fight. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, everyone has access to all of these materials and resources online at esghertz.com. There you can find model legislation based on what your state might need, whether it's the state contract or state pension component. You can also find our latest polling and talking points about how to start educating your friends, your family, your state lawmakers, your community about this issue and how dangerous it is to us as Americans. You can also find a short explainer video. We've got some great graphics that walk through the tentacles of all three letters, the environmental, the social, and the governance part. And I think, John, this is something that years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, people weren't talking about, but the left has overplayed their hand. Look how Citibank came out after the Dobbs case and said that, as a
Yeah.
bank, they were going to start paying for abortion. That's now part of the ESG makeup. Look at how all of the interwoven that we see with China and the international component, now it's baked into ESG metrics. So there's a lot here to understand, and there's a lot that grassroots Americans all across the country can take action to fight against.
Yeah, at the top of the show, we were lucky enough to have Senator Mike Braun on it. And it's rare in this era of divisive government to see almost half of the Senate right out of the box come in and get behind a bill. 100 groups, Heritage Action, of course, right at the forefront of that, also coming in behind it. There's a lot of momentum on this federal legislation, maybe just a few votes away from having a success story there. That'll be a big focus in 2023, won't it?
Yes, Senator Braun has been leading this fight in the Senate, and we're so encouraged to see that he was out front first and had the technical expertise to tackle this. And then same thing can be said in the House. Representative Huizenga has just actually put together an ESG working group that is housed under Financial Services and Chairman McHenry's leadership. And so I think we're actually going to see a lot of federal lawmakers on the House and Senate side come forward with their ideas to tackle it. And all of that, John, is going to be done in concert to the really important work that's being done at the state side. And so
Yeah.
we've got a lot of these issues, election integrity being one of them, education being another, where you have this nexus and this pull between what's the role of the federal government versus states. And that's the conversation that I think we can expect all year and certainly in the lead up to 2024.
We know that Indiana is getting through the process now. That's a really important one. All eyes are there. The Congress is there. Any other states that we should be keeping an eye on in 2023? Any new ideas that you're seeing emerge in the states that get you excited?
We'll definitely keep an eye on Florida. Obviously, Governor DeSantis is all over this issue. He's been
Yeah.
tackling the anti-woke parade for really his 4 years as a sitting governor, and then now as in his return to office. So keep an eye on Florida. Keep an eye on Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas. These are all states that are being really aggressive in this space, and I think there's more to come. And the last thing I'd say, if your state lawmaker, let's say you have a divided state house and senate, or you've got a Democrat governor in place, don't overlook the role that the state treasurers and the state auditors can play to highlight this and to detangle the ESG web as it comes to lending and those state pensions. And so that could also be interesting, that moves on the state side, independent of the partisan breakup with some of these governors and divided houses.
Yeah, great point. We've had some of those great state treasurers on here from South Carolina, Florida. Jimmy Petronas, I think it
That's right.
was, taking the lead on that. Um,
Yep.
this is a question I get often, and I think with this particular movement, it's really apropos. If someone wants to get involved and get behind their state and federal lawmaker, their state treasurer, what can they do today? Where do they start to get going to actually make a difference in this debate?
Check out esghurts.com. We have all of these resources in one place as a one stop shop for grassroots activists, for leaders in their states to then take this material and this really compelling offering of solutions to their state lawmaker, to their federal lawmaker, and urge their action. There is an appropriate role for state and federal to play here, and esghurts.com walks through that and then tees up the model legislation and the polling to really make the case of why we want to get the ESG tentacles out of our daily lives, and certainly out of the hands of the left that's trying to use it to destroy America.
Yeah, such a great point. And I want to finish up with something. A lot of people may, as they get into this debate, say, okay, the left is mistaken on this, but they're really just caring about the environment. There is a much bigger goal here. ESG is part of a larger movement towards the China social credit score, that sort of communist Marxist type control over their people. A lot of the backers of ESG are trying to move America in that direction. What's going on there? Why is that so important to stop in its tracks right now?
Well, it really matters, John, because what's happening is the more companies take a step away from their core competency, whether that's providing a good or a service or some sort of product, and they focus on these ESG standards, the weaker that American company becomes, and the easier it is for China to step in and to take control or to use that weakness for their aims. So it's not just what you've described, which is right, the manipulation of voters and consumers all across the country and as a tentacle for indoctrination, but it's also weakening, a backdoor to weakening American business. And so we should have a five-alarm fire about protecting the interests of American business as part and parcel to protecting the interests of us, voters and citizens all across the country. They're one and the same on this fight. And John, that's why it's so important that everyone gets involved, so that they check out esghurts.com and they get into action to urge our lawmakers to take a stand for us.
Yeah, economic security truly is national security. That's something that Heritage does such a great job of reminding us every day. Jessica, what a great honor to have you on the show and to have this conversation. I want to thank you for your partnership tonight on this. There's a very important place, folks, for you to go now that you've been up to speed. ESG Hurts. Go there right now. Check it out. A powerful website, gives you one-stop shopping. When you're done, you're going to know everything you need to know to get involved in the fight. Now, on that note, we conclude our special report with great thanks to our sponsoring partner, Jessica and Heritage Action for America. And remember, folks, you can get involved in the fight by texting ESG to 51776. That's 51776. Text ESG to that right now. You can also go to the website, esghurts.com. That's pretty simple to remember, and sign up. Now, I also want to thank Real America's Voice for allowing us to have these breakthrough conversations. We'll give you the facts and let you make up your own mind. The future of America and your freedoms to invest your money, power your home, and leave your nation to your children in a better shape than you got it is being shaped by the very debate over policies like ESG. So we hope you leave tonight better informed about the policies, the solutions, and the opportunity to get involved. Now, with that, we're going to say thank you. God bless you. and hope that you have a wonderful night. Again, one more time, we want to hear a special message from our great partner, Heritage Action for America. Check it out.
Hey, I'm Brian. My pronouns are he, his, him. I understand you're looking for a small business loan, but you're having troubles with your ESG score.
I was denied.
What's your business?
I operate drilling equipment, oil and gas.
Uh-huh. The E in ESG is for environmental. You're in a dirty industry.
So I can't get no loan?
Well, let's take a look at your company's social policies. Tell me about your plan to create social justice.
Social justice.
Do your employees get paid time off for abortions? And tell me about your diversity, equity, and inclusion plan.
Well, I ain't got none of that. I'm a driller. I just hire good people to do the work.
Well, maybe there's one more thing we can check. Do you have any female co-owners?
No, just me.
Ooh, have you ever identified as a woman? Or even just non-binary? It could really help your score.
What?
Your loan is denied. Come back when you fix your ESG score.